Hello, everyone. Jess Stainbrook here with the Invisible Disabilities Association. And as you know, I love to have conversations with our ambassadors, see what's going on, how they got involved, different things like that. And today I've got Lava Khonsuwon with me. Hello, Lava. How are you doing?
Hello, good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Gosh, I have so many questions for you because not only are you an IDA ambassador, which is, means that you've been living with some disability and that we all share that kind of stuff. But I know that you're a documentary filmmaker. And yeah, if you know anything about me, I mean, most people don't realize it when they're talking to me in the IDA world that I have 8 Emmy Awards and 34 nominations. I mean, same thing in the documentary world. So I'm really excited to talk about that. But tell me first a little bit how you got involved and the ambassador side of things of how that impacts who you are and what you live with on a regular basis.
Okay, so I have complex regional pain syndrome in my right leg, around my right ankle specifically, and I got it about going on 10 years. I can't believe that. And when I officially, got the diagnosis, I felt very lonely. It's like a very odd, weird world. And at the time, I was on social media and I would go out trying to seek others that had CRPS. And then I started finding out more about invisible disabilities. And a lot of folks, with CRPS have not such great times. And I was already not going through a great time trying to learn to walk again. And I found that Ida was very positive, and I would start following their pages, and I felt inspired by the community. So I reached out and wanted to be an ambassador because I'm like, that's how I want to be. I want to be a person who provides hope and living their best life, even with a invisible disability. So that's how I came across Ida, was through social media and just really liking the branding and the voices that they amplify. And so
Well,
that's
yeah, it's really good to hear that you saw our stuff as positive, and I
Mhm.
mean, that's our goal. Obviously, we're all about raising awareness and taking that awareness hopefully to the next level of serving people that are living with invisible disabilities or any disability, really, through our legislative efforts and things like that. But let's go into kind of what you do and how you do it, and this documentary filmmaking thing. I don't know. God, this again, we've never had a chance to meet, so this is really exciting to hear your journey of how you got into this kind of visual storytelling.
Oh, okay. So, just in a nutshell, when I was in fourth grade, I had just lived in a shelter with my family. So, that's another whole other story. So, we came from pretty poor background, and I saw Audrey Hepburn on TV helping poor kids. And I remember thinking, I mean, I don't have the specifics of what she's doing. I just remember seeing her surrounded by some young folks. And I thought, if I get into filmmaking, I can help other poor people and help the world. And then that just kind of stayed with me. And then graduated college with a business degree. And I realized I still wanted to be a storyteller and got into filmmaking. So that's how I got into filmmaking. I left Ohio, came to New Mexico almost 20 years ago just to work in a smaller industry, and pretty much self-taught myself to like working on film crews, working as a production office intern, worked in casting. And then I got my injury. So what happened to me is I got attacked by a neighbor's pit bull, and that's how I got CRPS. And I was facing amputation of my right leg. And I just was like, well, I never got to be a storyteller. I'm like, I missed my chance. And I'm a spiritual person. So I said, if I get an opportunity again, I want to go for it. But I didn't have the equipment. I didn't have the real educational background to be a filmmaker, a director. I didn't know what I was exactly looking. I just wanted to be a storyteller. So I started teaching myself while I was at home recovering with my leg, watching YouTube channels, and just had a very inexpensive Canon DSLR and taught myself how to be a one woman crew. And that's how I became a filmmaker. And it was,
Wow.
and it's been a long road, but I really enjoy it. And um, after I rehabilitated, I got back into production office world. Then the pandemic hit, and I said again, "Oh wow, I started that same path where I wasn't really being a filmmaker. I was working for other people." So I was like, "Well, I got this time. I'm just going to keep making my documentaries and other films." And now I'm very happy to say that I work as I get hired to be a film, like a writer, director, producer for short docs, commercials, and PSAs. And I still kept that docu style for a lot of my work, but I do narrative work as well.
Wow, that's really cool to hear. And congratulations. I mean, when you get to do the fun thing of telling stories the way you want to, it's, what do they say? Find something that you love and do it, and you'll never work a day in your life, right?
Right,
So
right, right. I'm very fortunate. Yeah, and I should also add, I rehabilitated my leg. I do walk, I run. It didn't need amputated, and that's a story I documented, but I have not edited yet. But I did make a documentary about that.
it's funny. I think we all have our own what I would call passion projects that probably wrap around who we are and maybe what happened during life. It's funny, a lot of the things that you talked about triggered things in me to go, "Oh my gosh, I remember this and I remember that." I mean, kind of grew up on the wrong side of the tracks as well. I mean, it sounds like what you did, but was always, one of those kids with a camera and running around and
Mm.
doing different things like that and trying to take that to the next level. And it's funny, I mean, during college, I actually became homeless one year and lived on the streets
Oh.
of Philadelphia, and it was really tough. Um, but boy, it taught me a lot. And little would I
Mm.
know, you said you're a spiritual person, and I have a very strong sense of my faith and how God works in our lives. And little would I know that the next year I would be on this path to launch my first production company while I was still in
Mm.
school, and it would take off and go crazy. So yeah, it's exciting to hear your journey and what's going on. Well, what are some of the stories that you've told, that you feel strongly about, or that you've seen maybe have had a difference? I mean, usually documentaries are some presentation of something that people don't know as much about that gives them a little bit more information. So what are some of the things that you've worked on that you've felt passionate about? um,
Mm. Good question, and thanks for sharing all that, by the way. It's always fun to hear other people's stories. I, uh,
No, and everybody has a story. That's one of my big things, is that
yeah,
everybody, I mean, we could do a documentary on every single person, and they have an interesting
absolutely.
story no matter what the path and journey is. And I think that's part of the process of us even, I mean, I'm getting to be an old guy, but boy, there's still things that are happening in my life that are part of this, how I grew up and who I was and who I am and who I'm becoming.
Mm.
It's just, it's fascinating. And I will say that part of my, I guess, the Emmy award winning side is that as documentary filmmakers and storytellers, a lot of our job that people don't realize is we get non-professionals to look professional.
Mm,
Right?
yeah,
We get them
yeah.
to we get them to speak in a way that they're not nervous, or they're not, I mean, when I actually teach documentary filmmaking at the university level, and one of the things I try to explain to the students is that the key to documentary filmmaking is really getting the person you're talking to engage with you and forget about all the other stuff that's going on behind, like the cameras and the people. And as a matter of fact, I even have this little trick where I line everybody up behind the cameraman so that the person can't see anybody else.
Oh.
And I really tell them to focus on me. And my DPs always know they look like they're completely disinterested. They could like it's purposeful though, because I don't know if you've been in this situation, but boy, all you got to do is have one person on your crew like agree with the person that's giving an answer or telling a story, and they will turn their head because they're getting affirmation.
Mm.
And that
Mhm.
totally throws the eye line off, which to me is a hiccup in the story, right?
Mm.
It pulls the viewer out of the story. And so there's a lot of those techniques and tricks that we utilize in the context. I mean, the other one is that you don't say anything, right? When you're
Mm.
asking people questions, you and I will have this conversation today, and if you say something cool, I'll go, "Oh yeah, cool. Oh neat, that's neat." But in the documentary world,
Yeah.
we do it all, but we don't say anything because we don't want an interruption from an audio standpoint. So sorry, a little lesson there. I'll put that in like the classroom section, and people get a little free information there. But yeah, back to you and some of the stories you've told that have been fun or interesting, just in getting to know people and tell the stories that you do.
I just want to say that I was taking notes. I'm like, that's a good tip. I was like, I like that. That's like, you learn other tips from other people. I'm like, oh, I'm actually very engaged. I was like, that's really interesting. I like hearing how other people work.
That's actually the most fun, and something that I recommend to all of my future filmmaker storytellers is that you got to spend time with other people, especially like in the
Mm,
edit suite, or like if somebody's doing Photoshop, because everybody has their own quick keys, everybody has their own
mm,
way of doing things. I mean, even I will sit behind somebody and go, "Whoa, whoa, what did you just do?" And it's this quick key thing or something that I didn't know, and you add that to your repertoire of techniques and tactics that help you. You're always trying to get keystrokes down to less because they save time, right? And so, yeah.
mm.
Anyway, well, we're going to have a lot of technical behind the scenes information for people. This will be a two-tiered interview, right?
Yeah, there we go. Um, I think your question was what documentaries did I make that I like?
Well,
Okay.
yeah, some stories that have really moved you and the why you got involved with them. I
Mm,
mean, I know some of them are, hey, we got hired, but sometimes
mm,
there's still this bigger thing that as we get to know these people, it's almost like we become really good friends because we spend so much time.
mm.
So I don't know. I was just
Well,
curious some of the stories that you felt were really awesome.
Um, okay, so the document I these two of my own personal documentaries that I really enjoyed making, and they aren't like super polished or professional, but I enjoy creating them. There's one that's just a narrative piece with B-roll of my experience with my family as Buddhist nuns. So my mom's from Thailand, and we have a tradition in our family where, I mean, a lot of Thai people do this, but it's very strong in our family tradition to go to the forest and practice being a novice nun. And so I got to experience for the first time like 5 years ago. So I made a very micro short documentary just to have something like, okay, I can do this. I'm going to teach myself editing, did some voiceover. And it's called The 3 Day Nun. I was just sharing the experience and why it was important to myself and my family. And that one I really enjoyed. And um, I also did I did a lot of micro short documentaries before I started getting hired for them because there's so many great stories out there, but also it's great to complete work when you're learning. So I made a very like under 5 minute short film about my mother's experience. She's an immigrant from Thailand and just wanting to hear what she overcame, raising two daughters, living in the shelter, and where she is now. It's an inspirational story because my mom's awesome and she's really done well for herself. And so those are my two personal favorites for myself. And then as for clients, I actually love a lot of my clients, and I'm not just saying that, but recently we've been working a lot in the Navajo Nation with a school district out there, but not for the Navajo Nation, but we're hired by this Gallup McKinley County school, and they have us doing these like mini documentaries about their different school programs. And I am so inspired by these young people that it is just medicine for the soul. Like these kids, I don't know if I'm allowed to say kids, but they're high school students that are just doing amazing things. Some of them are learning how to make solar and they take it back to their family to help get them electricity because a lot of the places out there don't have electricity and I'm not aware of it all. So like I'm very much engaged in a lot of their stories and just amazed at what these kids are doing. Some of them want to go become doctors and head back to their community to go help others in their community. Those might be my favorite projects because I really enjoy what a lot of the students and the teachers are trying to do out there. And you can feel it when you talk to them, how much they care about their community and doing good in the world. I just love it. It's
Mm.
really my favorite. The client that we deal with directly, I would love to actually make a film about her. And she is just so passionate about the Gallup area. And I'm like, I love Gallup so much because of this lady now, because she's always so enthusiastic. She loves the people there. And that's the kind of stuff I really like. I really love talking to people that are truly excited and wanting to do good in the world. And this lady in the school district, when we got the contract, I thought, oh, this would be a great, consistent job where we make PSAs and commercials and short videos for them. I had no idea. We both, my partner John, he's also a filmmaker. We work on this together, and like I had no idea how rewarding this project was going to be. Like I absolutely love this client. I just look forward to like emails like, tell me we're going to go make another film, because it's just they're just great stories that they have out there. Just fantastic people. I love it. It just gives me, with all the stuff that goes on in the world, I just love creating stuff to remind us of the good. And I really enjoy that there's young people out there from a very underrepresented area that are just going to change the world. I'm just like, these kids are going to change the world. I love it.
Yeah, I hear you. I feel the same way about, you know, we need to have positive things come in our direction. There's enough negative going on in the world. And so, producing what I would call media that matters, that can
Mm.
uplift people's spirits and let them know that there is still good in the world. I think that's really important. The other thing I think as filmmakers and storytellers is I find that we get to know a lot about a lot of different things. Like throughout my career, I've done a lot of different commercial or training things. Maybe you might call it a corporate thing, but in the context of doing these other projects. And so there's a little bit of almost everything that goes on that I've been involved with. And people are like, "Oh my gosh, what don't you do?" I'm like, "Oh, well, probably nothing, because somebody has hired me to join them to do what they do well, and as a filmmaker we have to tell the story, and so we're really engaging in this thing whether we know it or not, to understand it, to translate it into something that a layperson can understand, right?
Hmm.
So yeah,
Hmm.
it's really a lot of fun. I mean, I think it's a gift, and yeah, super proud of you and the stuff that you're working on. That's really awesome.
I feel very fortunate. I This has been a really great filmmaker year, and I do my best to be very aware and mindful that I, I'm just really blessed, I guess, if you want to say. Is just I just want to not take it for granted, because sometimes you can work with people. Like I came from the studio world when I worked on other crew. I just feel like a lot of people weren't overly happy. And I'm just generalizing. But it's like it's so easy to become ungrateful for the work when you're kind of getting beat down. I feel so grateful for this work because we do get to work at home and travel, and it's just a nice balance. It's giving me a great life balance. So I feel extremely grateful for this, for everything that's happening right now in our life. It's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would agree. I've been a freelancer most of my career,
Oh,
and
good.
and I love that lifestyle. I like the you're on 24/7 for a period of time, and then you're off, or you're working on different
Yeah.
things. Things consistently change. I try to inform my students when I'm teaching them, that because they're always like, "Oh my gosh, how do you do so many things?" I'm like, "Well, I set time schedules, right? And I work on something, and I have to accomplish something in that time. And at the end of that time, I move to something else, no matter where I am in
Mm-hmm.
the process. And what that does is that keeps me refreshed. I mean, in the creative spirit, stuff just comes at us, right? Nonstop. And so, I mean, you're smiling because I think ideas just don't stop, right? I mean, what the other advice I give my students is your downtime, what we'll call sleep, is a really important time for your brain to work through the things that you may not understand how to get through yet. And so when you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and there's this brilliant idea, you need to write it down.
Mm-hmm.
Something, because you will not remember it in the morning. And so yeah, there's a lot of that of, I do a whole class in one of my advanced creative classes. I do a whole class on how not to be creative. In other words, how to turn it off on purpose, but allow it in the background to continue to percolate. And so, yeah, it's really interesting to see how that works. So, well, I don't know, since we may have an audience that's interested in this filmmaking kind of media thing, what are some of the tools you use? Are you an Adobe person? What's your
Mm.
camera? Like, what are some other things?
Okay. I use DaVinci Resolve for my editing. My partner uses Premiere, but when we do some of our projects together, I do the assistant editing. So I do a lot of the reviewing of footage, and then I assemble it, and then he takes it over and he makes it magic. I mean, the
Like,
guy, John's incredible editor, and
we,
so
we always
I
need those
pretty
guys, right?
yeah,
I love
I
sitting in the seat behind the editor because boy, those guys can rock and roll.
he rock and rolls. He's actually editing right now for our last project we finished last week, actually. And then what else do I use? If you're starting out, we're in a really cool time to be storytellers because you don't, if you can't go to film school, like I didn't go to film school, I learned on YouTube. So, education one is a tool. So go get educated, learn how you can make something with the resources you have. And if you have a cell phone, use your cell phone. You can create something, especially documentaries. I feel like you can get out there and just create with the cell phone and watch videos of how to make films with my cell phone. And they'll tell you. And DaVinci Resolve is free. So it's a free, amazing tool for editing that I personally love. I really love DaVinci Resolve for editing. And
Well, I remember Da Vinci when Da Vinci was just a color correction
Ah,
tool. That's all it did. I mean, there were guys that were specialists, and even going back in the day, Da Vinci was still known for that of doing. I mean, we would have telecine where we transfer our film to an electronic medium video, if you will, and then they would tweak it and stuff like that. But yeah, it's interesting to see now that they've kind of entered the marketplace from an editing tool as well. I mean, all these tools are amazing. I was a big Avid user for
mm,
most of my career, and we were actually what transitioned me. I knew I needed to get to Premiere because we use all the other Adobe tools, and we were at the Super Bowl one year, and Avid just crashed, and I'm like,
ooh,
gosh. And my buddy, who was also editing, I mean, we like swap seats. Everybody will sit in the seat, just keep editing because we have so many deadlines. And and he said, I have Premiere on my computer and we can just transfer everything there and start working. I didn't know a thing about it, but that was kind
ooh.
of instant conversion, which I think sometimes is the thing that kicks you into gear to change strategies or the tools that you use, is being forced into something. So yeah, from then forward, I mean, just seeing the seamlessness that Adobe has really done between all their programs has been really helpful.
That's cool. That's cool. I've not learned Premiere myself just because I just I have so much time. I was like, I'll go for the free software. That's really cool. So I do DaVinci, and they have these really great classes for free too. So
Mm,
I've been really enjoying that. So,
that's awesome.
just for anyone out there, it's free. And if
Yeah,
you're interested, it's a great software to use. And I think there's other ones out there as well, but that's just what I know at the top of my head. And the best way to learn is just to go out there and do it. That's what I think.
I would
I'm like,
agree
just go
with
for
you
it.
100% there. Yeah. It's funny. Another one of the stories that I tell is that, you mentioned it as well. If you have a story in your head, there's no excuse for you not to tell it.
Yeah.
You can literally pick up your phone and shoot
Hmm.
4K and edit on your phone. I mean, oh my gosh. And when I look back when I got involved, it was probably much more difficult because you had to go work. I mean, you couldn't afford the gear. I mean, one of the stories that I tell is that, you know, when I started my own production company early on, one of the toughest decisions was, should I buy a camera or should I buy a
Mm,
house? because
No.
they were the same price, 150 grand.
Oh
And
my
I actually
gosh.
decided on the camera, and it took us, into this whole new world. And then I bought another one. I mean, it took me a long time to get a house, but I was building a business, but you couldn't
Mhm.
afford, the edit suites and the systems that were available. I grew up on what they called a CMX 3400, and it literally had a huge room filled with these monster machines and four engineers to get it up and running and keep it going. Well, you couldn't afford it, right? It was millions of dollars. And so, like I said, I think we're at a unique spot and
Yeah,
time where everything's available, and if you got a story, there's no excuse for you not to get it out there.
totally agree. It's really cool time. I like that.
Yeah. So do you have your own YouTube channel? Is there a place where you post? No, not yet.
No, I had like one I was kind of playing with, but it's not one that I maintain. I use just YouTube to, if I have private links, I send it that way. But otherwise, I don't post regularly. I need to actually post some work. I use LinkedIn currently. I just
Oh,
use LinkedIn, and that's the only thing. I didn't find for what I do, so social media all that helpful. I'm one of those oddballs that, I know they always say do Instagram and Facebook, but I found it very toxic. And so I felt like my overall mental health was better to leave those platforms. To each their own. I miss seeing some of my friends and family, but LinkedIn is where I primarily share information, and I haven't shared much because we just wrapped our 16th project this year. So
well,
we're like cranking them out. We're constantly working. And I'm not saying as a brag, it's more of like astounding. I'm like, holy smokes, we are really working this year.
well, that's
But I do.
and to add to that, Lava, people don't realize sometimes our own promotional websites aren't that great because we're so busy. Like we're
Yes.
doing all of this stuff. People don't realize that. Like for the longest time, all I had was a demo reel. I mean, I didn't have a resume. I didn't have anything. People would see my work and then I would get a phone call. And so I just didn't have time to keep up with
No.
anything from an ad standpoint. And I agree, boy, I want to take your little segment there of I got off social media and it was so healthy for me, right? I think that's key of not being sucked into a lot of the stuff that's going on. And, it's
Yeah.
a lot of distractions and
Yeah.
negativity,
Yeah.
anxiety that's created. And gosh, I mean, it is really neat to be involved in the storytelling at our level because we delve into it at such a deep level to be able to engage in it to then
Mm.
share it back. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. I think that's great. I know some people get so shocked that I'm not on social media. And I think they're like, well, how do you find work? I'm like, I think it's, I don't think all the work is coming from those sites. I actually realized I'm like, I kept wasting all this time trying to make some, you know, marketing myself. I'm like, I never got a single thing through those things. I
Yeah,
did
right.
better just staying off of it and just working a different style. And now I'm much happier. And it's interesting, this lie that you have to stay constantly informed, when actually it's like, are you just feeding into it all? I mean, I don't know. I just want to do, to each their own. I know some people do have to have it for their businesses. I'm very much at the point where I didn't need it for myself, so I'm happy to be off of there. LinkedIn is the only way. And yes, I agree, our website is struggling because we don't have time to update it, but we have a website and it's so out of date already.
That's really funny.
I'm like, oh
Wow.
my gosh, yes, you understand. The marketing tools for ourselves, just I don't always get to keep up with, which I'm at a down point now. We just finished up a mini series to help at-risk youth in New Mexico. My partner is the writer director for that, and it took about it takes longer because it's a narrative piece. And so
Sure.
now I'm at the point where we just wrapped up principal photography last week. So now I can just like do my post-production paperwork, and then I'm going to get back to trying to like revise some of our websites and other
That's awesome.
stuff.
Hey, a lot of it's word of mouth. When you're good at it, people know about it, and you don't have to worry. I mean, shoot, I didn't advertise for probably 20 years. I mean, I still really don't, you know. I mean, I just get phone calls and stuff happens. So, well, you're also in New Mexico, which is kind of a hotbed for, you know, the film industry these days. And
Yeah.
how do you find that in helping you do what you do?
You know what's great about New Mexico film community is that we have a big community of other
Mhm.
really talented crew and cast. Like we have like a low budget series that we did, the mini series to help at-risk youth. It's a very small core of crew members, but they're so talented and can move so quickly with high quality that I'm not, I mean, I'm sure that's in other states, but I feel like because we're New Mexico and a lot of our people are polished, I mean, it just makes our work so much better because we have great people to collaborate with as crew and with cast. I just feel like what's great about our area is the people. It's just fantastic. And
Yeah,
our locations are pretty cool looking too.
yeah, no kidding. I saw a Mark Wahlberg thing, and when I saw it was shot in New Mexico, I'm like, wow, that looks really cool because it was meant to look like it was the Middle East, you know. I'm like, well, that's really good.
Ah,
That was well done, man. So, well, I know Wayne would probably go. Yeah, I mean, we've had this really great conversation about you and I and what we do, the other things, but let's bring it back to IDA, Invisible
oh,
Disabilities Association. Any kind of thoughts as we're wrapping up about? I don't know. I mean, you know, Wayne and Sherry have talked to me a bit about maybe figuring out a documentary for the
mm,
nonprofit that explains more. And we have smaller pieces that we've done and different things in the past, but I'm curious if there's a different style, maybe a longer format, usually probably in that hour range that, you know, sits on PBS or could go out to festivals and things like that. That's really informative. Are there any of those kinds of things on your mind, or I don't know, what are you thinking as far as communicating more about, uh, maybe not specifically with what you live with, but being in that I will call it the world's largest minority, people living with
mm.
disabilities, you know.
It's true. It's very true. That's interesting you bring that up because I filmed for 5 years of my progress with CRPS and I've not edited it and it's always on my to-do list. So this could motivate me, but I'm like, this is the year I finally finish that documentary because I want it to be about like the realities of living with it. However, having the ability to also shape your life the way you can help, do the best you can with what you have and still have a happy, fulfilling life. That's my main thing I want to pull away from it. And I really need a that is one project I'd like to complete, and it is a feature, like it'll be a feature documentary, I think. I don't know. Unless I just filmed a lot of me blabbing, then I don't know. I filmed it a little while ago. And then the other project, I want to do a narrative piece. I'm talking to a company about making some features, and I do have a feature. It's a horror though.
Oh,
It's
neat.
like a
Oh, interesting.
it's a suspenseful movie with a character that has CRPS. I
Oh,
To me,
wow.
it's what I can speak about because that's what I know is having, I went through a lot of depression. So it's like the characters always discuss mental health and the physical issues. And so those are the two main things I can think of right now that I'd like to get to
That's a
eventually.
great way to present it in more of a narrative, dramatic film that allows the character to play out so people are informed, but it's a story that they follow. Yeah,
Mm,
I mean, you've seen a lot of those in like with somebody in cancer type
mm.
movies, right? Where somebody gets something and then whatever happens, and but yeah, that'd be really interesting.
Yeah, it would be. And then I do hope that I edit my documentary soon because I know why I've been procrastinating on it because it's been hard to look back at that old version of me. I mean, it was some of my darkest times when I recorded myself. I had no hope, but I kept holding on to hope. But I didn't know how I was going to get through learning to walk again when there's no cure for it. I have to be honest, I feel so like I almost run away from it. Like
Mm,
I'm like, oh yeah, I have an invisible disability, and I don't really talk about it much these days. I do bring it up sometimes when I'm on set because I'm thankful that I get to run our film productions with my partner, because if I need to sit down, I get to sit down. Whereas if I was on a film set like I used to be, I'd be fired, you know? So it's just one of those things I almost forget because I get to maintain, manage myself. I feel very fortunate in that aspect too, but I tend to forget these days. I'm like, holy smokes, I have CRPS. I'm like,
mm.
it's weird. Like I still have problems finding shoes that are comfortable to wear. And I go, oh yeah, I have CRPS in my foot. I
Yeah.
tend to like run it. I like don't want to deal with that. And it's
Wow.
like my doctor's like, it's just up to you. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? What does that
That doesn't
mean? I
help.
don't know. I was like, what do you mean I have to be on ketamine? Never end up doing it, but like just the journeys and the weirdness that went along with it. I did my best to record it all, and hopefully I can create that and share it sometime next year.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And you're actually communicating kind of the core of what a lot of people living with invisible disabilities experience, where there's not a great understanding or a misdiagnosis of something by accident. It's not on purpose. That then leads to this wasteland, this deserted
Mhm.
place that people
Mhm.
are with like you said, no hope. And that's sometimes the hardest part, so yeah, being able to create content that helps people see that there's a way through, or maybe build up mental stamina, uh, to allow them to get through some of the hard times. I know one of our friends of Ida, Kimberly Warner, created something called Unfixed, and she's been doing a
Mhm.
lot of documentary stories. And it really came about from she has a disability that it makes her feel like she's on a boat, like seasick all the time.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, it sounds
Ooh.
horrible. And so, the whole world is moving as she's just sitting there. But she started just telling the story, and then it opened up to other stories. And really, the perspective was more of, while I constantly look for the cure, how do I live in the midst of what I'm in right now? Still
Mm.
keep pressing on, because I know there's a lot of people that struggle with suicide thoughts. I know that,
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things that as we're dealing with chronic pain and illness and things like that. So yeah, no, it'd be neat to see your story come out. And my advice sometimes, because I have a lot of those same kinds of stories, I have to pass it to somebody else,
Mm.
right? Because no, I'm too close to it. And what happens is, sounds like similar with you, is every time I jump into it, I'll tweak the I can't get past the a minuscule tiny little thing that should probably just blow by, but something bothers me about it. And I literally get stuck, And so yeah, it'd be interesting to see how we'll have to stay in touch, encourage each other, and the things that we're doing. So
That sounds good. I like that.
yeah.
I like that. I wish I could every time I write, when I get around to writing my own stories, I always think, oh, representation of different folks is a thing that I try to be conscious of. You can only do so much, but I'm like, it's so interesting how much we don't write people with physical disabilities into stories either. I'm like, it's so interesting. I think about like, oh, I try to like, because I used to have a cane. So that's how I try to contribute. If I have a narrative piece that I've written, I'm like, oh, I should have somebody with a cane to represent a type of chronic pain issue. It's not because, it's just interesting how I think I had a cane for 3 years or something like that. So it's just one of those things that I know how to symbolize, but it's also one of those interesting things to think about like, oh, we don't really put them out there. We are invisible. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I've really enjoyed our time together. Any last thoughts about anything we've discussed moving forward before we sign off?
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And it's been a great conversation. And I hope anyone out there that's either with someone that has an invisible disability or has one, just, you know, I wish you much happiness and good healing if it's possible, but just happiness. Find your inner happiness somehow. And I do believe there is hope. And I know that sounds like cliche. It's just I was in a dark vortex for a long time in chronic pain and depression, and I'm living a better life than I ever lived before I had all this. So I want that for others. So I hope that you can find something in your life to help you through.
Well, thank you. Good advice for everybody. And thanks so much for being with me today.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, been talking with Lava, one of our ambassadors. Really a great, encouraging conversation. You can look to our resources to help you with more information, maybe some things that you're dealing with. But thanks for being with us today.